everybody, it's Tiffany, and as you can tell, we're just having way too much fun here in the podcast studio. I want to welcome all of you to the Life in the Wick podcast. As I said, my name is Tiffany Spalding. I am your host, and I'm joined today. This is podcast number 3 in a series of 3 about writing your story, writing your own book, the great American novel, if you will. Or maybe it's not a novel. It doesn't have to be a novel, right? It could be anything.
Maybe it's not great.
Maybe it's not great, but you should write it anyway. Okay, so for those of you who are just joining us for the first time, Tamara Merrill,
Hi.
Jerry Stravey are my guests today, and this is the third time, probably the last time, frankly, based on how they're behaving in the studio today. I'm just kidding. We're having a great time. Okay, so podcast number 3, how to market and sell your book. And one of the things that's interesting from the business perspective is that marketing is it, right? Marketing is the key. I was a product designer and had things manufactured, and I can't tell you the number of people who came to me and said, I have this great idea, including my own brother. I have this great idea, blah, blah, blah. Can you help me get it made? And my response is always the same. Yes, I can. Getting it made is easy. The great idea is easy. It's what to do with the 1,000 units of whatever it is in your garage because you failed to market. No different with a book, right?
No different at all.
You've got to market, and that's today's topic.
Right.
Okay, so when does marketing start?
Marketing starts the moment you sit down and say, I want to write a book. Because the very first thing you need to do is choose your audience and write to market. Who am I writing this for? My family? Different market than the big world out there.
Right. Different genres,
Different
kids,
genre,
adults, whatever it is.
Marketing, if you're writing a children's book, you need to be knowing you're writing a children's book. So writing to your audience is the very first part of marketing your book.
Right, okay, so this has come up in the both previous podcasts, so it's pretty important if you haven't gotten that yet. It's a really important part of it. Okay, so once you know your market, then what other things can you be doing before the book is maybe even definitely written, but what other things can you do?
For those of us that are experienced writers, we know that we have to start marketing our books early. So the very first thing that we do is, as we're developing our idea, once we're into it, we're not sure we're going to actually write this book, but when we know we're going to write the book, we start stirring up a little interest in the social media. I recently spent a whole day researching mason jars for my new book, and I just posted a little post on Facebook and Instagram saying I spent the day researching mason jars, and it's for my work in progress. No title, no anything else. But we like to let people know that we are in fact writing another book, and we hope they will follow along with us and buy those books. So that's the first step in marketing. If it's your very first book, you can stir up that interest when you get very close to the end, because you want to be sure you're really going to finish the book.
Ooh, okay, but so that goes back to something we talked about in number 2, right? If you get out there and you do what we call going public, maybe it is a good idea to start early. Because that's one more thing that the people, friends and family around you are going to hold you accountable and ask you about that book. So if you want to put your feet to the fire, don't wait, get started. So what about you, Jerry? What have you done in pre-book marketing?
Let me say one more thing before it's one of the things about pre-marketing is don't get your title out there right away. Wait till but let them know you're writing a book and what it's about.
Yeah, I think as a new author or even experienced author, a lot of what you do is the same thing. And one of the things I started as a new author was when I was writing Braxton's Century, because it takes place between 1860 and 1960. It covers a lot of different periods of time, decade after decade. And I got on Pinterest and started posting photographs or pictures of things that might interest my reader. So one day it might be about what women were wearing at a particular time, and next time it might be on horse racing, or another time it might have been about trains. And again, these were all things that were happening in the book, so I was able to grab their attention that way. And at one point I also did part of it goes in World War One, and I had like fighter planes up there,
Oh,
and
cool.
then I had a thing on women nurses. Okay, so I captured their attention about the book, not so
Using
much talking
Pinterest.
about the book, using Pinterest. Yeah.
So kind of a similar thing, especially when you're talking about historical fiction or whatever. As you're doing research, you uncover these interesting tidbits that people on Facebook or your blog or Instagram or Pinterest might find interesting and click to subscribe or click to follow so that they keep up with the story that as you're posting these things as you go along.
Since you mentioned blog, we hadn't talked about that, but if you are a blogger, blogging about anything at all, and now you've decided to write a book, don't forget to mention that you're writing a book.
Start getting those people on board, right? Start getting them on board. Okay, so you're going to do those little marketing things before the book is ever written, like all the way through. And then one of the other things you mentioned, Jerry, when we were talking was about cover art.
Right. Covers are everything. Okay? Covers are probably the most important thing that you're going to do. And why is that? It's because it's the cover that it's going to get people interested in what you're doing. When you walk into a bookstore or you go online and you see book covers, you're automatically drawn to the one that picture interests the most. And interestingly, book covers don't necessarily accurately represent what is inside the cover, but you really don't care that much because once they open the cover and they get into it and they like it, they're going to keep going, right? It's all about marketing. Right?
You know what? That was so interesting to me when you were talking about that because as a consumer of books, and then I started thinking about different covers of books and going, yeah, that didn't have anything to actually do with the book itself, right? So it is, you want to grab somebody's attention.
Right. But there is a cardinal rule in there, though, that you've got to remember is make sure that the cover does represent the genre or the type of book you're writing. If you're writing a bodice ripper and you have a
bodice ripper?
a bodice ripper? Yeah, a bodice ripper. You know, they're going. You are not going to have a book about airplanes on the front. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, just be smart about it. I'll tell you a couple real quick. I speak from experience. First book I ever wrote or ever published, I put a cover out there and I designed the cover. I was very proud of this cover. I thought it was really cool, right? Well,
But it was a DAC cover.
oh my gosh. So anyway,
She learns quickly.
okay, so
I've learned a lot.
do
from
not
this podcast.
hire someone to do your cover or you don't do the cover that doesn't know what they're doing, okay? It's so important that your cover be what we call a bestseller cover. What is a bestseller cover? A bestseller cover is something that is current, something that people will be interested in. You cannot go out there with an old style cover and expect people to be as interested than they will if it's not current. Oh yes, now that is a current cover. Okay, how did that come about?
This is a bestseller cover.
Say that again.
This is a bestseller cover.
Now why is it a bestseller cover? It's a bestseller cover because those caricatures, those cartoonish kind of things are in. So when I hired the person to do this, I gave them an idea of what I was looking for, but let them bring it out totally. But real quick, so if it's not a bestseller, twice I've had to change covers because they weren't best-selling covers, all right? So don't let your ego get into it. Go out there and get yourself a best-selling cover. And what about the title?
The part we didn't write down on a little note here is your cover art. Your title's part of your cover art, so the title has to fit the cover because those two things are why a consumer will buy your book: the title and the cover. And in today's world, the cover has to look good on a 9x, whatever those books are,
6x9?
6x9 book, and it also has to look good in a thumbnail sketch, which is that little tiny, teeny picture that Amazon has. And it has to be clearly visible at the cover, and the title has to be clearly read.
Okay, so I want to talk about something that we've talked about a little bit as we were working through the podcast and kind of the plan for what we're going to talk about, but we haven't talked about a lot, is giving up the things that you think are so great. And I can definitely imagine that at some point you came up with an amazing title and then everybody else said, that's shit. That's a bad title,
It's
right?
it's so true. Yes.
Right? So that's part of this whole process is sort of the pain and anguish of, and the title I would imagine happens regularly, right? That you think you have a great title and then,
You almost always start off with a title that isn't on the final book, because first of all, titles and covers are genre and year specific. Different things are in style at different times. And it's hard to give up your baby. It is so hard. It's just those words were so perfect. They absolutely told the whole story. And then you show it to your friend and they go, what does that mean?
it's a stupid title.
Yeah.
Who came up with your title? It's stupid.
I wouldn't buy that book, and you go, oh no. But yeah, you're right. That's very important. Give up on those things.
One last thing, real quick about covers is one thing I did was to help improve my covers was I sampled some of the folks on my social media. I sent out
Oh.
like 3 different themed covers and asked them which one they liked best. But that's another story, but it's something to think about.
But it is part of the marketing process, right? Your audience, your followers follow you for a reason and like you, and they, A, love to be involved, and B, they are who you're marketing to. So if they hate your title or your cover, you need to listen.
Let go.
Yeah, listen to
No,
what
just
they're
get rid of them. I mean,
Right, just find a new
Cancel.
group, like build your tribe, and then be like, you guys aren't in my tribe anymore, and we'll just move on, because that's easy. And then, right, but it's true. Listen, and this is a great way, like focus group things are a great way to both engage your audience and know what you're doing well and where and where you're failing at things.
It's amazing that we don't actually know everything.
I know, it's crazy. Well, we do, actually. It's just all the rest of
Yeah,
it
the rest
we
of
don't
it.
actually know. Okay. So, after you've done your cover art or you cover art's one of the things that you're working on, then the next thing you need to come up with is a description of the book that sells. And there's a couple of components to that, right?
Yep. There's you have to write at least 2 different descriptions. Both of these are to sell your book. So they are pithy and descriptive, and somewhere the long one is between 500 and 1,500 words long. This is the one that you see when you look on Amazon or Barnes & Noble and you click on the little more button and they describe the book. This is that description. Sometimes it's the back of the book or the inner flap of the book, but usually that's an entirely different description. The other one, which is much harder to write, absolutely horrible to write, is the short description, which is 25 words to tell your whole story.
Ugh.
And you need to be able to sell your book in 25 words. When someone comes up to you and says, what is this story about? You have to be able to say it. It's extremely difficult, fun to write. We argue about it a lot, which keeps us amused. But it is, those 2 things are really, really important, because after I look at the cover, I'm probably going to flip it over. Or after I look at the little thumbnail on Amazon, I'm probably going to push that more button and see what's there.
Description. Okay, I want to, well, this is totally off topic. Well, kind of off topic. I love when I go to Amazon and I can actually read a few pages of the book. So is that an option within Amazon, and why do people do that? Some authors do it and some authors do not.
On all of the big booksellers, you have the ability to look inside, and that is an option that the publisher chooses. And a self-publisher, same thing, but the publisher chooses that option. Can't imagine why anyone would not choose that option. You have the opportunity when you do your book to say, I want 10%, 25%, and I think 37 or something. It's some weird, the other number is a weird
Of the
number.
C inside.
Yeah, the C
Okay.
inside. And you're not giving away your book for free. Let them read it. They'll buy the rest of it.
I want to add to that.
Okay, wait a minute. You can answer this too, Jerry.
Okay,
So
on
it's
the
like-
look inside, I was going to go with there.
do you get to choose the pages they see?
It
It
depends
starts
on
at-
different
typically
on
starts
different
at the beginning.
websites. On different websites. Amazon starts on page 1. Page 1, not the table of contents.
But do you get, like, some of them just have 3 pages.
Yep, you get to choose all
You
that.
get to choose those
Yeah.
pages. Okay.
Yeah.
I have no idea where I was going.
But
I had
you're here
something I
now,
was-
so that's-
I was something I was going to say about the. Okay. The long and the short. When she was talking about the descriptions of the book, the long and short. I would say that's the most difficult thing to do in marketing is writing these 2 descriptions. All right, and it is important that you pay huge attention to them and you get as much constructive criticism as you possibly can, because this is what people are going to see. This is the next most important thing to your cover. Okay, so they see your cover, they want to know more, that you write a description, and let's say that description crashes and burns. Well, so do your book sales. Okay, so it is absolutely vital that you do a good job on that. And if you spend hours on it, people spend days on these things. Okay.
Okay, I have a question about that. Another, I don't know. But so in my business world, for magazine ads and packaging and descriptions on the website, we hire professional copywriters, and it is their job. They're experts at writing that copy. Would you do that for this?
You can. It's certainly available. It's just one more thing to pay for, but it is certainly available.
I mean, it kind of removes the personal, like
Yeah.
your.
Because they are written without any personal, you
Right.
can't have your personal bias in it. So you can hire it done. It is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of, I'd say if they were going to do both your long and your short description and do a good job of it, you're probably going to spend another $500 or $600, maybe $1,000 on them. They would have had to have read the book, so they cannot write a description without reading your book.
Okay, I want to give away a little secret or a trick that I've got as far as getting people to read your book. I have been very fortunate to have reviews that were done on my book on different places like Goodreads or Amazon or wherever. And I have taken those reviews, the ones I like, okay, the good ones, and incorporated them into my description,
But that doesn't count.
okay? Well, it counts when you don't want to write them, okay?
That's not part of your description. That's a marketing ploy that we all use, but that's not, you still have to write this 500 or 2,000
But you can
word
use
text.
reviews in the description.
You can use reviews before the description and after the
Let me-
description,
let me
but you
add to
have
that.
to write the long and short description. That is not
Hand me
part
that
of the
book.
description.
Okay, hand me that book, please.
This is not part of your
Jerry
description.
cheats at this.
All right,
This is
here
what
we go.
Tamara's trying
Here
to
we go.
tell us.
I have about 50 words written in description on that, and everything following it is reviews what was from advanced readers.
He has
Oh, we
1,
haven't
2,
talked
3,
about that
4,
yet.
5, 6.
All right, stop. Okay, okay, we're going to talk about that though in a minute. Advanced readers in a minute.
See,
Two,
oh,
two different things,
So,
Jerry. Entirely.
All right, so you can hire a copywriter if you don't feel like that you're
Right.
confident
Yeah.
about
Right.
that. If you want to hire some professional, but since you are a professional writer, why would you do that? Okay, got it. Okay, so you do the descriptions, and then you have to do something.
You have to
like
do
art-
the about the author. And the about the author is always written in third person, which makes it hard because you're not used to talking about yourself in third person. But the thing about the author that is easy is you can follow along and look at what other people do. Because what it is a very short description of who you are, what you have done professionally, and where you live and what you enjoy as hobbies. But you also have to have an about the author that is personable, describes you, and it is always, always, always in third person. If you write it in first person, they know you're an amateur.
Okay, so that brings me back to something we talked about earlier, is the social media aspect of things. And do you both maintain personal social media and professional author-only social media?
I do, I believe Jerry does. But when you're talking about this, like this about the author thing, and you bring in the social media, that's an interesting thing because on social media, you're never third person. On social media, it's really you.
Right, I'm not talking about that
I know, but I'm
specifically.
just saying,
talking
it is
about,
like, yeah.
and we were talking before about posting on
Yeah.
Pinterest. Do you have a Jerry Strabey Pinterest and a Jerry Strabey
Yes,
author
I keep
Pinterest?
everything separate. I have 2 of everything. Twitter, everybody.
What about you, Jerry?
I do the same thing. I keep them. They're separate, but I don't necessarily keep them separate. There's some things on my business, my author social media that I share with my personal social media because
Right.
it's just convenient. I want more readers. I want more people in my tribe. You know?
Okay. But there are double. You have double. You're
Oh, yeah,
maintaining your
definitely.
double lives. on
Always
social
double.
media.
Yep.
Okay.
Also, it's important because a lot of social media platforms, you get more options on the business
Right.
platforms, and that's what you need when you're marketing.
Yes, that is true. You get all the different promote this post. Thanks. Okay, so we got kind of the basic stuff down. We have written the book, and then now we have a release date. So it's time to really put together a marketing calendar for going forward, pre-release, through release, and into forever. So you got your release date. What are you going to do next?
I'm going to contact people to find out whether or not I can please have you promote this book with me. So as soon as you have a release date, you're still writing. You haven't been through, they're not done editing, any of those things. You just know that you have a goal to get this book out on a particular date. At that time, you start contacting bloggers and webcasts and podcasts and influencers. You're posting all along on social media. You contact your local newspaper, you contact the national media, you go to libraries, you go to book clubs, you ask them to please review your book. You're looking for people who are interested in what you've written and are willing to read a copy of your book as soon as you're done with it, so that it will get out there and people will be talking about it.
I'll give you a practical experience. It's very recent. I published a book in June on the whistleblower book on the PTSD veterans of mental abuse. And so what I did is I went out and I reached out to a lot of veterans organizations on Facebook and a couple other social media places. I went to Whistleblowers of America, and I went to a list of veterans email lists that I got involved in, and I went out and marketed the book in various ways. You have to do it in different ways at different platforms, but it made a huge difference because when we launched the book, we already had a considerable number of the people that had decided to purchase the book as soon as it came out, because that was the market that we were going to, part of the market that we were going to, and most of all, it went to people who had a vested interest in veterans or in PTSD or that sort of thing. So we really did narrow down on part of that launch, and importantly asked them to share and
Right.
what we had with those who they thought might be interested, and gave a piece of the proceeds to a veterans group to further support the veterans, but at the same time motivate people to purchase the book. So there's always kind of little
Little
twists and
things
turns
that you can do. Okay, so we need to backtrack a little bit because we're talking about release, but you do want to get your book out prior to release to people who are going to read it before, so that when your release date well, like the back of your cover, it has people who read it before it was done, before the cover was on and all that. So you do that as well. You need to get some people. How many books do you send out pre-release that you're hoping to get people to read, comment on, and give you some reviews?
That's kind of interesting because it's going to be different for anyone, but I want to get as many out there as I possibly can, particularly if you can do it an electronic copy. It doesn't cost you anything. So I sent out 60, and actually 60. These were 60 people who had agreed to read it. I knew full well I would be lucky if I got 10 or 15 back, okay? It's a commitment to sit down and spend 8 to 10 hours reading a book and then do a write about it. But fortunately what we did is had a list of these people on a spreadsheet and would casually remind them, oh, so looking forward to you getting back and telling us what you know. And we ended up with like 30.
Nice.
But it's all about you and getting
Following
it
up.
and following up.
It's a little bit different in that the genre that Jerry's talking about, he had a list of people he could follow up with. Usually when you're writing fiction, you are going to send out like 100 copies of your book, but you don't send out anything to anyone that doesn't say, yes, I want the book.
Right.
So one of the best ways is like by using the Goodreads giveaway. And all of the people that accept a free book on a Goodreads giveaway are committed to leaving a review.
What is
So,
Goodreads?
Oh, Goodreads is a branch of Amazon where you track everything you've ever read, or you can track everything you've ever read, and you can see what everyone else has read, and you can see what they've reviewed and whether they liked it or didn't like it.
Is it free?
It's like a big. It is free, and it's like a big book club,
Okay.
the online book club. But the most important part being Jerry's for the PTSD book. He was contacting people that were connected to the veterans. And that's often true with nonfiction books, that you can send it and track it. But you couldn't just send, you don't want to just send out to your newsletter list, anybody want a free copy? I'll send you one. You need to,
Right.
you need
to
a
have a plan.
commitment that there's a plan. And you still will only get 15% of people will really respond to it. So, because it's a plan, it's not a.
Right. All right. So now comes the fun part. The book is available. It's out there for sale. You've got your author copies. What do you do next after the release? What are you going to do?
Well, you know, you keep marketing, to tell you the truth. You want to stay in front of your readers and your potential readers. And it's part of the marketing plan that Tamara was talking about. You don't stop. In fact, books that I've had out there for 4 years, I'm still marketing, and guess what? It's still my bestseller.
Right. Well, it's all about marketing. Marketing.
It's all
Marketing.
marketing.
So you're going to do, maybe you're going to do a book launch.
Yep.
Right? What is that? Like, how, I mean, I know what a book launch is because I've been to several, but who, where and who where do you hold a book launch and who do you invite?
Okay, so first of all, the first thing is you don't do the book launch before the book has already been released.
Right.
All right? You give it a little bit of time. All
Okay,
right?
so if just because I got the books today, I'm not going to have a book launch today. I'm going to
That's
wait
correct. That's correct.
a few weeks.
What you're trying to do
months.
is give your book another kick.
Okay.
So let's say let's say you launch your book on January 5th. All right. You may not have your launch until the end of January, February, or maybe even March. Okay. A lot of it depends on a strategy that you put in place, and you know, if your book is being well received, you have more tools with which to work with to make that launch more effective. If it's not being well received, you have an opportunity to get things to pick up, right? So Tamara's going to talk about exactly the details how a launch works, but I want to tell you that one of the most effective, I had a very good launch on one of my books that was, hotel owners really liked the book, they really liked me. They hosted an event with wine and hors d'oeuvres and all that kind of stuff, and we had like over 50 people attend, right?
Nice.
Okay, and
so,
it was really nice. So now, Tamara had a different kind of thing that she put on, and I've never seen a more effective book launch. I believe you sold out, right?
okay, but where? Hang on. Give the mic back to Jerry because he hasn't answered the question.
Okay.
So you can do your book launch at a hotel. Where else can you do
Oh my gosh, you can do it online.
it? On Zoom?
Oh
You do
yeah,
Zoom launch?
most of the launches right now are being done on Zoom, okay? You can do it at a library,
Okay.
all right? So library, one of the ways that I got started on the book is I did a big social media promotion and did it at a bookstore,
Okay. So
okay?
bookstore's a good
Now the
option.
bookstore wanted to host you because they're selling the books,
Right.
okay?
They get their cut.
And they get their cut. And you
So
know,
when you do it at a bookstore, I'm assuming they're also going to put it on their social media and on their
Absolutely.
newsletter, right? So you
Absolutely.
get that. How hard is it to get a bookstore to work with you on a book launch?
well, not too difficult, but as an established author, and I've been in these bookstores before, they're glad to see me back because they know that people are going to be coming. But as a new author, you could play the fact that I'm a new author, and that I can get 50 of my friends here, or that type
Oh,
of
right,
thing.
right.
You know?
I'll bring you some new
I'll bring you
customers. You
some
bring
new
the old people,
customers.
I'll bring you the new people.
Exactly. Then I don't know. Did I mention you can have these lunches in libraries? You can have them in community centers. You can have them at friends' houses. The nice thing to do is find somebody who, you know, use your friends. Okay, find a friend who's got a lot of friends and a lot of people that know that you don't know, and maybe they like share the event. So, you know, kind of do like group
Right.
invites like that. And say, hey, bring BYOB or potluck or something like. Let's go. We're going to talk about have a big deal about this book. At the same time, we're going to have some fun. You know, so just be creative. You know, you may have a social groups that you involve with.
Right.
You know, or what have
Can
you.
you
Like,
invite people on Facebook and stuff? Like send
you
out an
can
invite?
because you can be specific. Yes, but You also, if the size of the crowd, like it's a bookstore or something like that, I've done that. I've invited them and.
You can get more people. Like if you have a bigger venue, then you can do this mass
bigger event. But
invitation.
you gotta decide: are you gonna serve something there, or
Is it in your yard or is it
Right.
in a public venue?
Okay, so we know where we can do it and who we can invite. How do you do it tomorrow?
It's a party. You can do anything you want to do. The whole idea is to have fun, to let people know about your book, to let people know why you wrote the book. That's what they're there for. They really truly do want to do that. They want to buy it. They want to.
So you have them there
autograph
to
it.
sell at a launch. You're
You
selling
do
them.
have them there to sell, but you really have them there to celebrate because you finished this book and it's out there and it's a good book and it's wonderful, and so it is a celebration. Every book launch should be specific to the book that you're launching. So if you're launching a children's book, you might have a clown and balloons and have it in the park and have a bouncy ride, whatever it is that's appropriate for that book. If you have a serious book, you have a different kind of venue for the book and a different kind of party. People like to eat. You always want to have some food. If it's appropriate for your group, you want to have wine or soda or whatever, but you want
right.
to feed them just like any other party. You just want to remember that that's what it's fun. Most of the time, the author talks about the book, talks about themselves, talks about the book, and then reads a section of the book. That's really, people like that, and that's what you do. And you like it. It's fun to do it. There's no right or wrong way to do it. It's a party. It is a party to celebrate launching your book.
So
But it is to
basically,
sell. So
right.
you want to remember that.
So that's a good thing to remember, that it is a party. So what you want people, obviously you want them to buy your book, but what you really want them to do is to go home and tell everyone, I went to this great book launch. And if they had a great time, they will talk about it and talk about the book, whether it's a genre they're interested in or whatever. You're going to get that added bump of, we're talking about a fun party, and oh, by the way, it was this book and this is the author.
And they will bump you into doing their book club.
Right.
One of the best venues for marketing your book is book clubs. Shadows in Our Bones, I've done over 400 book clubs on Shadows in Our Bones. Partly because it was COVID and everything was online, so I didn't have to travel so much. But it is the book launch will also be covered by your local media if you let them know.
Okay, here's another thing that we
I'll
have
interrupt here on one more thing. Book launches, you can have more than one.
for the same book.
Oh yeah,
So different
Sure.
places,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Depending
Good.
on what it is.
So that's
yeah.
a good idea
Yeah.
too. Okay.
Oh, by
so,
the way, you sold more than 3 books over those 400 book clubs, right?
Considering there's an average of 12 people in a book, yeah.
yeah, so that's a great, book clubs are a great way.
Yeah.
So
Tamara's amazing with book clubs. I mean,
here's-
she's amazing.
Here's the other thing about anything, but we'll relate it basically to books. You have to ask for the sale, even if that means asking to be in the book club. Oh, you have a book club? You should consider, or not you should, but would you consider reading my book? Asking for the sale is probably the most important piece of marketing.
It is.
That's why you're doing it. You are marketing to build sales. So don't forget to ask.
It only hurts the first 100 times.
Ugh, I know, I'm horrible at that too. Like, you just think my book is so great or my product is so great. I don't need to ask people
Have you
to
guys
buy
ever
it.
seen these people standing at Barnes and Noble, authors with their schlepping their books? Hello. Hey. Hi. Glad you're here. Would you like to hear about my book?
So yeah, so if you're somewhere, listen to what authors have to say about their books. Maybe you'll pick it up, maybe you won't, but it'll be better for the authors to have somebody to talk to than to stand
Well, they're
there.
very interesting people.
Very
I
good.
have that
yes.
firsthand.
And
The
talented.
best. Absolutely the best, yes.
Okay.
One little thing we didn't mention is take every opportunity to appear where other book people are appearing. So if there's a book fair in your town, if there is a writers conference in your town, if there's appear, have your bookmarks or your business card, have some books in your trunk. Can't tell you how many books you sell out of your trunk
Right.
at an event like that, even if you're not there to sell, but because you talk about your books, you sell
Right,
books.
so it's they're ready to go. All right. Okay. So in the wrap up, final notes, and Jerry, you brought this up. One of the most important things to do about marketing is to
Watch what others are doing and keep marketing. Keep up. Keep marketing. Keep engaged.
stay engaged and watch. you know, so often we think we have to reinvent the wheel, but there are other people out there who are being really successful at marketing their book or at marketing anything. So one of the challenges that I've bumped up against in my career is that this is a solution for this, how to market this product. I have an opposite product. Oh, so that won't work for me, but that's not true.
No,
Right?
yeah.
If somebody has a successful marketing campaign for anything, look at how they're doing it and then figure out, how do I tweak this to go with my book? We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just have to.
Excellent.
You know, the biggest thing in the market though too, I think, is the attitude, okay? You know, if you have a positive, upbeat persona and really believe in what you're doing and love what you're doing, people want to be part of it. It's not hard for someone to fork over $15 to $20 for a book because they like you.
Well, okay, that's another important thing, which we haven't touched on at all, and I know we're probably going a little over today, but be authentic.
Oh, yes.
Be yourself. And if you can't be yourself in front of people, eat a gummy, do whatever you need to do, right? It's important that you are your true self.
Yep.
And some people have a really hard time public speaking, and understand that that might be your challenge, and address that challenge. Get some coaching, do some practice, whatever it takes, but recognize that you want to present yourself as who you are, because people aren't afraid to fork over 15 or 20 bucks if they're like, yeah, I know Jerry,
Uh-huh.
right? You know, they think once they meet you, you're no longer, now you're part of them.
Well, you know, being an author attracts attention, okay? People want to talk to people who write books because everybody wants or has thought about writing their own book, and they want to learn a little bit about what it's all about. And you are there to give them an opportunity to get some information they might not have. Some people just like to hang around authors because they think authors are cool. I would have to admit that's true. But back to what you're saying, Tiff was saying, is when you're marketing, go out to these events, see what they're doing, talk to them. You will internalize what they're doing, and before you know it, you'll be putting your own spin on it and having a great time.
And carry your business card or a bookmarker with you everywhere you go, because everybody that you talk to, if you want them to get back in touch with you, or you want to get in touch with them, maybe they have something that they're willing to share with you or teach you or whatever, and you want to make sure that you get your contact information, their contact information. Okay.
I just want to say one more thing. We didn't mean to scare you. Overall, writing a book is the most fun you'll ever have in your whole life. Even if you only write one book and that's the only one you write, it is absolutely rewarding, absolutely fun. Even the marketing of it, which is fun. And you do meet wonderful people. You have all kinds of opportunities. Things happen, and it is just exciting. So take a chance, write the book, whatever it is, write the book.
Take a chance. Take a chance. Get it out there.
Ditto.
All right, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you've joined us for all 3 podcasts. And contrary to my comment at the beginning, I'm sure these 2 clowns will be back in the studio for something else at another time, because we really do.
Oh, I
have a
just
great-
happen to have
If
another
we're-
book
Right,
coming
exactly.
out.
Anyway, if we're clowns, what does that make you?
I
The
mean,
ringleader?
The ringmaster.
I
Master.
think it's ringleader.
Ringmaster. Probably more like ringleader. All right, I could go to not my circus, not my monkey.
Oh,
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. Tamara Merrill, Jerry Stravey. I'm your host, Tiffany Spalding. We're glad that you came along on this journey, and we hope to see you again. Speaking of that, be sure that you like, subscribe, and click the notifications bell, and that way you'll know when we've got another goofy podcast rolling your way. All right, everybody. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye.